because of the flooding that struck heavily in Tennessee.
There are concerns over whether Puerto Rico could withstand another hurricane. After Maria, power was out for months. People had little to no access to food or water. Thousands of people died. A House committee is warning that veterans could be left uncared for if another significant storm were to hit. Jennifer Bellamy joins us. Jennifer, we are already here in hurricane season.
Cheryl, 1 month into hurricane season, in fact, and from new information from that House Veterans Affairs Committee, they're warning that the U.S. territory may not be able to take care of all of its veterans if it's faced with another hurricane or some other type of disaster.
A new congressional report sounding the alarm for veterans in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico. Staff members for the House Veterans Affairs Committee visited the VA hospital in San Juan and found several issues they say should have been addressed before the June 1st start of hurricane season. In a statement to NBC News, California Democrat Mark Takano, who chairs the committee, said staffers were concerned about emergency preparedness and disaster response capabilities. According to NBC News, the report found those in charge didn't know how to access the hospital's medical inventory that stored supplies such as medical prescriptions and equipment. They also didn't maintain updated, consistent communications with thousands of vulnerable veterans who could be stranded during a natural disaster. That's about 9,000 high-risk vets who might be bedridden, suffering from severe PTSD, or who require life-saving treatments like dialysis or insulin. The San Juan Medical Center is required by law to contact veterans 92 hours before a hurricane is expected to make landfall so it can let them know about safety plans and other important information. After Maria last year and prolonged issues with telecommunications services, congressional staffers wanted to see an alternate plan for communication. The report says staffers heard stories of the lack of support veterans received after Maria, and while those already in the hospital were well cared for, as casualties came in, veterans fighting cancer were discharged to homes with no electricity or water, and others considered stable were sent home whether they had a place to go or not.
And Congressman Takano says they will continue monitoring the situation in Puerto Rico to make sure that the island is ready for the next storm.
All right, thank you.